G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Bit of a recap here for the Nationals and Cannibal campaign trip that I did at the end of last month, February. Basically, after all the training for the last 2 or 3 months and all the work I've been doing on the bike and getting everything ready for the trip, I was pretty keen to head away and actually get some riding done. Unfortunately, just before I left, there was a couple of COVID scares at home. Had to isolate for a couple of weeks, so lots of home workouts, and there wasn't really much to do. So that's why we've been a bit quiet on the channel and with this series. Just wasn't much to film or do that was entertaining around the house. Anyway, so I set off for Threadbow, about a 15-hour drive. Drove across with a couple of mates, Ben Dipple and Cam Ryan, a couple of local pinners. We hit the road. 15 hours later, we were in Threadbow. Pretty epic drive. We left here at 4 AM and we actually got in at around 6 or 7 after a few stops, and we made good time. It was pretty rad to get to Cannibal. I was excited to kind of get between the tape there. I'd entered everything. But unfortunately on the first day I was there, I was following Josh Carlson, and I use the word following lightly, down the hill. He dropped me in about 3 seconds flat. It was sick to watch him ride for those 3 seconds. But unfortunately about midway down, I went a bit far inside on a corner, clipped a rock, washed my front wheel, it caught and blew the tire off the rim. Again, this time it wasn't a Pirelli, it was a Maxxis double down front casing, pumped up to 20 psi, so obviously something went wrong there. I washed out, went over the bars or under the bars and smashed my hip on something, and basically ended up with a massive bruise / hematoma on my leg. Couldn't really feel my hip until pretty much now. The skin is coming back to feeling, but it was kind of a reminder that my focus was Nationals. So end up pulling out of all the racing at Threadbow, swinging a camera around, doing some interviews and getting some photos and just having a good time. So I did a few interviews, did one with Crush, did one with Lusty, did one with Fox, did one with a bunch of people, Kale and Al from YT and a few other brands. So it was cool to get out there and shoot some stuff and just be amongst it with everyone. It's kind of important for me as well to be networking and meeting new people at these events. I think it's second to none, even with the age of social media. Pretty gnarly. Watched a few people go down. The downhill track was intense. I don't know how they did it, and man, Jackson Frew was on fire. That guy's gonna have a big year. Anyway, after Cannibal and all the festivities and a few too many drinks, we jumped in the car, jumped on the ferry and headed down to Medina. So that was another almost 20 hours of traveling total, 6 in the car, 13 on the ferry, and then 4 hours from the ferry to Medina. So we left on the Monday Arvo at 12 and I got into Medina at 11:30 PM on the Tuesday. So I was pretty wrecked, to say the least. Couldn't find a camping spot. I've been camping in my car a week. Couldn't find a camping spot and just slept on the side of the road. It was super simple. First day of Medina went pretty chill. Needed to do some washing, so I went and got some washing done at a local laundromat, and there was a bakery next door, and decided to have a vanilla slice and a pie, which was pretty innocent. The Arvo, we did track walk, was stoked on the track, was good to kind of walk down with a few guys. And it was at this point where I was starting to get real nervous about the race. Didn't know what I was doing there. Really can't believe that I decided to do such a stupid thing and race this event, because the track, while it is rollable and it is quite easy to ride, it's pretty damn daunting to go fast on. And I was starting to compare myself and think about, I've got Lockie McKillop, I've got some real pinners in that class, and I was starting to think, like, they're just going to blast me out of the water. And it was then that Kai Hoare from Missing Link Bikes just went, man, forget about all that shit, just ride your own race, do your own thing and have fun. And those words resonated with me at that time and kind of got me through the week, to be honest. Anyway, the morning after track walk was practice, and did a few runs. Was feeling pretty comfortable on the track. It's almost impossible to get the bike I'm currently on working right. It's got a weird kinematic in the rear, and we've tried everything. So I just had to ride around that, and was enjoying the track. It was really fun. So hit all the gaps, hit the road gap, which was fucking daunting. Did everything I wanted to, hit all the gaps, hit all the drops. It was sick. All my lines felt good pretty much from day one. So having a rest day on the Friday was my plan. Unfortunately, that pie and vanilla slice decided to come and literally kick me in the ass, and I ended up with some food poisoning. So throughout those practice days, I was feeling a bit ill. Still did it. By the afternoon, I pretty much set up camp on the toilet. That night I was borderline considering going to hospital because I just had nothing left in me. I was I was the shell of a human I once was. But thankfully, Shelley Flood and Connor Fiera and Timmy Eaton and a few others came to the rescue and got me some Hydrolyte. They had some drugs, and Danger Nurse Shelley really sorted me out. So thankfully, by the end of that night, I was feeling a lot better. The next day I woke up to go do stuff, and I was flogged. I was absolutely ruined from the day before. So I had to move my rest day forward a day early. I went up to the pits, walked around for about 2 hours, talked to some people, decided me being there was just not motivating. So to be around athletes that are there to win it's not smart for me to be there and telling my sob story. So I bailed, ended up falling asleep again at 12, woke up again in my chair at 3, and slept another 12 hours that night. So 15 hours of sleep later, I felt sick on the Friday. Felt really, really good. Opened up the boot of the car to get out, and drops of rain were falling on my head. So Friday was a rainy day practicing, so a lot of people decided to take it off. All the pros had a rest day. Everyone was chilling because there was no point. I decided to do a couple of runs just to get my confidence back on the bike, even if it was wet and I was still riding like a drop kick. I just wanted to remind myself I can actually ride a bike a little bit. So did a couple of runs. It was fun. The track was super slippery in some spots. The routes just were ridiculous. On the seeding day, felt really good. Track was really dry, super dusty, blown out. Seeding run, ended up seeding last, but I hit all my gaps. I did every jump I wanted to. Hit the road gap, which was quite daunting for me. I think it's about 6 foot tall and probably 10 foot long. Like, it's a big gap. It's super easy, but it's still a big gap and pretty daunting. We don't really have much like that or anything like that in Adelaide, so it was cool to hit that. Ended up seeding last. I was chill with that. It is what it is. I had fun. Yeah, it was sick. So woke up race day, mentally prepped. Everything was feeling good. And yeah, I did one run in the morning, thanks to Mick Williams for convincing me to do that. I wasn't going to do it because I was pretty flogged, but I did it. And it was good just to kind of chill down the track and get back up to speed and just wake myself up with that run. Tried to stay out of people's eyes and way for the race day. Wanted to be in my own zone. Listened to some music, got amped up, and it was sick. I was super keen to race. Unfortunately, I was motivated, was stoked, was keen to go. Rode out the gate, was super nervous, like in the gate. Like, I haven't been in a race gate for almost 2 years now, I think. Was super nervous and everything was crazy. So I went out of the gate hard, hit all the jumps further than what I thought I could possibly do. So I was pulling up when I should have been scrubbing, and everything was a little bit loose. Came into a section midway down, which was some off camber, kind of shooty type stuff, and unfortunately wiped my front wheel out, which usually isn't a big problem, but during my practice on the Wednesday or Thursday, when I was following Lockie, I got crossed up, went over the bars, landed in some rocks, and just cracked my rib is what it felt like, and I was riding with that for the whole weekend. But unfortunately, my race run, when this front wheel washed out, went to the side, and my elbow went square into that rib, and I heard a pop and felt a pop, and it was a bit rough, and it felt like I'd basically broken 2 of my ribs. So I figured, I'm here, paid all this money, done all this training, got you guys like keen to do it, so fuck it, I'm gonna keep going. Felt like someone was punching me in the ribs every jump, every drop, whatever I was trying to ride. Came out of these sections, was still feeling good though, and funnily enough, I did something very similar to Troy, just at 1/1,000,000th of the speed. Popped into that section, was feeling okay. The flat section or the rut that I was riding the whole week had disappeared. Front wheel dropped again, went over the bars and landed straight to my chest. So felt like a Muay Thai guy just kicked me in the ribs and kicked me in the chest, and was repeatedly doing so on the way down. But as I said, like, I paid this money, done all this training, I wasn't going to stop for that shit. Got to the bottom, went to the medics, they checked me out, no punctured lung, nothing like that, but holy shit, I could not move. Turns out, like, I didn't actually break a rib somehow, but the repetitive force because it was force coming forward and hitting my rib, it turns out it kind of displaced it, so ended up with some torn cartilage in my sternum. I've got some torn cartilage in the back, and basically it feels like my rib's kind of floating there at the moment, so it's not very pleasant, but I got shit done. I raced to nationals, which is, Lockie nearly halved my time, which was a bit sad, but Lockie's fucking fast and good on a bike, and I was riding like shit and injured. So the nationals campaign was really good up until nationals. Everything was thrown at me, everything that possibly could have gone wrong went wrong. I had tires that weren't performing from multiple brands. I got new tires sent to Threadbow the week before I left, because Threadbow was flat out. Someone thought they were goggles and just put them aside in a box, so I never got them until a couple of days before the race. So I was racing on new tires that I haven't ridden before, which is probably a bit of a mistake. They held up well, but I still didn't just trust them. So I was in 2 minds by the end of it. I'm stoked that I've raced nationals and I got the job done, and I'd like to thank everyone that helped me out with that, especially Sian Hearn. She's put up with a lot of messages from me over the last few months, and her coaching did really well. Love to give a shout out again to Danger, Shelley Flood and Connor for helping me out with the drugs and Hydrolyte when I needed it. Fletcher Media kept me honest and kept me going throughout the couple of weeks. It was good to chill with him. Thanks to Beck for a shower at Medina. That was a lifesaver, and same with Connor's thing. Thanks to Timmy Windshuttle for helping me out with Threadbow and getting that sorted, getting me there, getting me a media pass. That was rad. And a huge shout out to Reese Carter and the team at Medina. What you don't know is a lot of the organisation and logistics and getting this race to work actually falls on the club or the bike park that you're at. It doesn't really fall on us cycling. They're just there to do whatever. Not sure. Run timing, I think. And those guys killed it. Like, they took on a lot of feedback from last year and really improved the race weekend. So for example, last year shuttles were open to everyone from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Anyone could go. Unfortunately, this led to long shuttle waits because everyone from every class was lining up. So it was an hour plus in shuttles. This year it was an A-B group sessions. So B group in the morning, A group in the Arvo. You had less time to practice. So 8 till 12 was B group and 12 to 4 was A group. You had less time, but you got more shuttles in because the shuttles were shorter. The lines were shorter and you got a more concentrated practice time, which was sick. Coffees were flowing well, and I mean, man, we ate the place out of food. So there must have been a big turnout, and that's because the venue was so good and the event was running so good. Also want to give a huge shout out to the guys at PSI, Lockie, Riley and a few others that helped me by lending me some pit space, and yeah, that was really kind of them, and I was just chilling with them for the last couple of weeks, so it was really good. Got to meet a few people through there, and the guys at Canyon for fixing my bike. From now onwards, I'm going to continue training. I think it's been really good for me. It's helped my mental health, it's helped me have a goal, and it's helped me bring meaning to some of my riding. I was a bit lost there for a moment, like it just felt like I had to ride because I'm in the industry. So I will continue training. There's a few races here locally that I want to get into. So yeah, training's gonna be sick. I've got a few local guys here as well that are pinners that I'm gonna try and hook up some rides with and get faster with those guys. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Unfortunately, this bike that I'm currently on is not up to the task. It is a great bike for riding, but it is not a race bike. It's just not fast. It just doesn't allow you, it doesn't inspire me to go fast. Sometimes you have bikes like that just don't gel with. So there's a new bike on the way, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Pretty excited for that. I don't think I've really missed anything from this one, but yeah, hopefully we'll see where Nationals is next year before I make a decision. I kind of missed doing the media stuff this year quite a bit, and following the race. I think I might be a bit more passionate about that stuff when it comes to a national series race. Yeah, I think that's everything. So yeah, huge shout out to everyone that helped me out. I also want to give a huge shout out to the people that listen to my podcast that came up and said hello and recognized me and gave me a bit of motivation, because some of their messages were pretty cool. So thanks to everyone that reached out, and yeah, it's good to kind of cap off this series. And you know, I'm injured, I'm bruised, I'm battered, but it was a sick couple of weeks away, and it was good to kind of train and get down, get everything done. And for those wondering, I dropped 13 kilos total over the last 3 months. But as Sean put it perfectly, I was training for performance and not for weight loss or for anything else. It was mainly to get better at that one task, and it definitely worked. So if you guys need to train or want a training program and want some coaching or some assistance, hit up Shana Hearn Coaching and she'll help you out. Yeah, I've dribbled on too much. So thanks so much. We've got some big episodes coming out for the podcast. Got some cool media stuff in the pipeline, and I'll leave it at that as well. Because I don't want to get too excited before it happens, but it could be quite good. Anyway, thanks everyone for following, and I'll catch you on the flip side.